And then we have to change our idea of traditional marketing. Old marketing was, let's design something for the masses. 80%. We want to hit the 80% of normal. We want to advertise to them because they're the ones that are going to want to buy. This 20%, the ones that need a lot of information or are working or need to be sold to harder, we're going to leave those alone. We're going to do 80%. And that worked in the beginning, but it doesn't work anymore. So Steve Jobs actually says, you need to develop an otaku. An otaku is simply a Japanese term that refers to people with obsessive interest. So in Japan, you have ramen noodle otakus. It is a whole subculture that the moment they find a ramen noodle restaurant that's awesome, they share it. Every ramen noodle restaurant wants to get into this culture because it'll go from making kind of good money to having people lined up for 5 blocks because the otakus will sell it to all their other otaku ramen noodle buddies, and before you know it, they're lined up around the block to try your ramen noodles. My first iPhone was not bought because I was at 20% that needed to research it, figure it out, know what the battery life is, what the applications are. No, I was at 80%. But what sold it to me was an otaku I worked with that every time I pulled out my Motorola flip phone, he would be like, beam me up, Scotty. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, that phone sucks. Look at this. There's no buttons. It's one button. And then, because he was the otaku, he sold it to me. Apple paid him nothing to sell me that phone. When you get otakus in your industry, safety otakus, they're not even safety advisors anymore. They're not coming out of anyone's paycheck. They just love what you're doing, and they're that 20% that are going to sell it for you. Can we spot otakus in our everyday life? Absolutely. Easy to see. So now we need to go for the better than average and extraordinary. We can leave that 80% off of our time. Just get rid of it. Go after the extraordinary and the better than average people, and they will bring up that 80%. They will sell their message for you. And the best example I have about the power of an otaku is the iPad. Originally, when Steve Jobs came up with the idea of an iPad, he went to his senior leadership team being like, hey, this is the next thing I want to develop and design. And they said no. They said it won't sell. They said we have PCs, and we have phones, and we have laptops. Why are we going to build this tablet? It's useless. And they actually tried to stonewall him. They said what they were going to do for his advertising budget, they'd only give him $80,000 to advertise. Because he was so insistent he wanted to do this, they're like, sure, do it, but here's your $80,000 advertising budget. You know what he used his $80,000 for? Basically, he used the $80,000 budget to release false flags. So the idea, because no one knew even what the name of the iPad was going to be. He wanted to keep that all secret because he knew it would drive the otakus crazy. There was something out there that they really didn't know, but everyone's talking about, and suddenly something would come out and be like, here's the new we don't know. And then, no, that was a false one. So he spent 80 grand leaving false flags, accidentally leaving an iPad out at a restaurant, that type of stuff. So he released it. Can we see otakus? First day, downtown New York, lineup is 9 blocks long. People waited 48 hours in line to get a device they really didn't know what it was. Had no real idea what he was selling. April 3rd, 2010, it was released, sold 300,000 iPads the first day. Who bought these iPads? Otakus, right? 2 days later, now they sold 1 million. No advertising budget. Remember? He blew that. Who sold 3-to-1 ratio or better than 3-to-1 ratio? All otakus. They went out there and told people they have to get one. And the last stat I saw was March 2016, 308 million iPads have been sold. And there's knockoffs everywhere, right? So find your otakus. and they will sell it for you. If you want to create or change your company culture, find people that want the same thing as you do, give them the tools, and then let them go. They'll do